Fox Sports.
We are Black Hawks. We are Southwest.
Texas Rangers baseball is presented by AT&T UVerse TV. And a nice crowd filing in on this Friday night at Globe Life Park. The temperature's sneaking up toward the century mark, and the Rangers hope to have their hopes ride high as well as they take on the Los Angeles Angels in Game 2 of this four-game series. Welcome along, everyone. A Fox on Friday night with Tom Grieve. I'm Steve Busby. Glad you could join us for this second game of the Rangers series with the Angels. And the Angels have been good. They have been playing as well as anybody in baseball, but the Rangers have somebody on their side that's hitting the ball better than anybody in baseball. That's Adrian Beltre.
He really is, Buzz. And, boy, we've been talking about it the last couple of nights. From foul line to foul line, base hits, home runs, you name it. When the game is on the line, he's the guy you want up there. He hits with men in scoring position. This season, he leads the American League with a .341 average, so he's the best hitter in the American League. He hits incredibly well at home, almost .400. And when men are in scoring position, he hits close to .360. So it's hard to look at Adrian Beltre and have anything but superlatives. That's how good he's been so far this year.
Adrian has been good. The Ranger offense in general has been much better of late. They hope to keep it going tonight. And Nick Tepesch, who will start tonight for the Rangers, hopes that he can get things on the upswing and to the pitching side. We will have the starting lineup and the first pitch. The Rangers and the Angels. Come on in, grab a seat, enjoy some Rangers baseball. Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. The Ford Summer Spectacular Sales Event now playing at a Ford dealer near you. By AT&T UVerse TV. Find out what's possible with AT&T. Call 1-800-HIT-ATT. Mobilizing your world. and by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. Well, as we head into the weekend, it is All-Star Weekend before the Midsummer Classic. That will be at Target Field in Minneapolis coming up on Tuesday, the 15th of July, 7 o'clock on Fox. The Rangers getting set to take the field here tonight wearing their blue jerseys this evening. And Nick Tepesch and company headed out to try and take care of the Halos in this ballgame. Nick Tepesch, as we talked about, trying to keep the upswing going. He's had a couple of pretty good outings of late. 2 out of the last 3 have been good, and looking forward to having the same kind of success tonight against the Los Angeles Angels. Mike Scioscia has put together again a strong lineup that will face Nick Tepesch here tonight. Now let's head down to the field, and Emily Jones is standing by.
Well, Buzz, as you mentioned, Nick Tepesch trying to string those positive starts together, much like the rest of this team, searching for that consistency. And Nick says it really is a matter of slowing the game down both physically and mentally.
Maybe just giving myself a chance to process it a little better once something starts to go wrong. Take a minute and kind of refocus and get back on track to what I need to be doing.
So Nick Tepesch, as you mentioned, positive outings the last 2 out of the last 3. He will try to make it 3 out of 4 here tonight. And, of course, after the closed-door meeting with manager Ron Washington last night, should be interesting how the defense and, of course, the offense plays with him on the hill and in light of what happened last night, guys.
All right, Emily, thank you. It's something we'll keep an eye on. I'm sure Ron Washington at least got things off his chest and he felt had to be said. Here's the lineup tonight that Mike Scioscia has put out there. Cole Calhoun leads off. He's in right. Mike Trout plays center field. Albert Pujols bats third, plays first. Josh Hamilton in left field. Eric Ibar, the all-star shortstop now, is hitting fifth. Howie Kendrick at second. David Freese plays third. C.J. Cron is the DH. And batting ninth, the catcher, Hank Conger.
And on the mound, Nick Tepesch for the Rangers. Our Sonic scouting report. He's had 9 starts this year. Pretty good ERA, 4.29. At home, 2-1 with a 3.31 ERA. Not quite as good on the road. His last start against the Mets doesn't look that good when you look at the overall stats. Most of that happened in the first inning.
And he gets a pop-up here. Adrian Beltre near the bag at third, puts it away, and a couple of pitches for Tepesch, and he gets the first out.
Well, yesterday at this time, we were behind 1-0.
That's
so
right.
That's a good start right there.
Exactly.
Keep Cole Calhoun off the bases. He was 4 for 5 yesterday and scored 4 times.
Now let's take a look at the Ranger defense. It's delivered to you tonight by Fred Loya Insurance. Outfield this evening, Smolinski in left, Martin in center, Rios is in right. Pena at first, Odor and Andrews up the middle, Beltre at third, and Robinson Chirinos again behind the plate, handling Nick Tepesch. The first pitch to Mike Trout is a bit high for ball 1. Trout also a 4-hit night last night, including his 21st home run of the year. A 3-run bomb to straightaway center field. Now 68 RBI for Trout. And the batting average at .310. Inside corner. And Tepesch able to keep that ball inside on Trout. Got the called strike. It's 1-2. 93 degrees at first pitch tonight. Winds out of the south about 12 miles an hour. Fairly comfortable evening. Humidity not quite as high as we've had it. And a pretty good size Friday night crowd filing into Globe Life Park. 2-2 to Trout. That's all the way to the backstop. And the count is now full. Well, Nick Tepesch, the 25-year-old out of the University of Missouri and out of Blue Springs, Missouri. Trying to right the ship and help the Rangers snap this 5-game losing streak that they have overall. Also have a 5-game losing streak against the Angels. Payoff pitch to Trout. In the air, right field, not very well hit. Going out is Odor, calling it off and makes the catch. as Rios went to the ground to avoid a collision.
Well, there's just another example of what we've been talking about. That kid is fearless, and he will go and get the ball. Not sure Alex got a great jump on that ball. And the ball is fairly far out into right field. But Odor was not going to let that ball fall. He went after it, and he caught it.
Now, is that a case of a big, strong guy like Trout getting the ball off the bad part of the bat with a full swing?
Yeah, it looked like he got jammed a little bit. I thought Nick might have gotten the ball in on him just enough to get that little pop-up. He almost got lucky and had it fall in. It's one of those balls that if there's only one of them, a second baseman or a right fielder, both of them could catch the ball. Becomes a little more complicated when it's right in between, and I don't think it was in a place where Alex could really call for the ball.
Adrian Beltre, the human vacuum cleaner, sucking that one up. And Pujols is gone. It's a 9-pitch, 1-2-3 first inning for Nick Tepesch. Angels were gone. Rangers coming up in the bottom of the first. No score. Very quickly in the top of the first inning by Nick Tepesch and company. Rangers coming to bat here in the bottom of the first. Scoreless ball game, and Southwest Airlines brings you the Rangers batting order tonight. Shin-Soo Choo again will lead off as the DH. Elvis Andrus follows, then it's Alex Rios. Adrian Beltre batting cleanup. Leonis Martin in center. Jake Smolinski the starting in left field. Carlos Pena bats seventh and plays first. Robinson Chirinos is catching, and Rougned Odor, the second baseman, bats ninth.
Sonic scouting report for Garrett Richards. Terrific season. 18 starts, 10-2 with a 2.71 ERA. That's the seventh best ERA in the league. His last 7 starts, you can't get much better than this. 6-0 with a 1.45 ERA and almost 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. His opponent's batting average, second in the American League. He's the hardest thrower for any starting pitcher in baseball consistently, and one of the toughest to hit in all of Major League Baseball, a 196 opponent's batting average.
And he fires a strike into Shin-Soo Choo to start things off for the Rangers. Next pitch, and Choo lifts one out of play to the left. The count is 0-2.
The last time we saw him pitch in Anaheim, he was throwing almost every pitch, 96 or 97 miles an hour, and with good reason. His average fastball is 96.3. That's the #1 velocity-wise in all of Major League Baseball. Hardest throwing starter in baseball, I guess you could say, based on that statistic.
1-2 the count to Choo. Shin-Soo 249 average with 9 home runs. Richards back to him. High and tight. That evens the count.
And then just to add a little twist to it, he'll cut the fastball too, which with that velocity gives him a distinct advantage over the hitter.
See, Choo against these Angels has done pretty well the last 10 games. He couldn't stop his swing there. And Richards gets the strikeout. Well, that's how things begin for the Rangers on offense tonight. One gone, Elvis Andrus coming up. Well, we have a second here. Let's take a look at the Angels defense, brought to you by Progressive. The same defense as we saw out there last night for Mike Scioscia's club. Hamilton, Trout, and Calhoun left, center, and right. Pujols at first, Kendrick and Ibar up the middle. David Freese at third. Hank Conger is catching. The 26-year-old Garrett Richards from Edmond, Oklahoma is on the mound. Andrus, a .267 average. Takes a bit low for ball one. Elvis, a couple of home runs, 22 RBI. And he has handled Garrett Richards over the years pretty well, 7 for 21. It's one of the better marks of any of the Ranger hitters against Richards. Richards out of Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma. Back to the plate, and he gets a knee-high strike. 1-2. Elvis had a couple of at-bats last night and then was taken out of the ball game after he was spiked play at second base. Kind of stiffened up on him. The pitch is low. It's 2 balls, 2 strikes. He had kind of a tough evening prior to being spiked. He missed a pop fly and a couple of other things that just were out of character for him. Elvis continuing his good streaks, though, against the Angels. 2-2 pitch. Got him swinging. So back-to-back strikeouts for Garrett Richards. 2 gone in the Rangers first. And Alex Rios coming up.
Both strikeouts have come on fastballs. You can see the movement on his fastball. The ball sinking underneath Elvis's bat. 8th in the league with 119 strikeouts. 119 strikeouts in 116 innings.
First pitch to Alex Rios, right down the middle at 98.
Well, it's one right after the other, too. It's not like he occasionally pops one at 96 or 97. It's one right after the other.
Off the end of the bat, a looper to right for a base hit. Well, normally a ball struck like that on most pitchers wouldn't go very far, but there's enough velocity that turned around off the end of the bat gives you about 150 feet, which is enough for a base hit.
He throws that fastball with a little bit of cutting action, tailing away from Alex just a little bit. And it's a big swing, and it's right off the end of the bat and just barely high enough to get over Albert Pujols' glove at first base.
Well, the first base runner of the night for either ball club. Alex Rios, a 2-out single. Here's Adrian Beltre. Outside for ball one. Beltre, as we mentioned, the top hitter in the American League, and he is the second best average in baseball overall. He trails only Troy Tulowitzki. Tulowitzki hitting at 350. Beltre 341 as we interplay tonight. That pitch a little bit low. It's 2 balls, no strikes. And there's the information we were just talking about. Our Ford leaderboard tonight showing you Troy Tulowitzki at 350. Beltre and then Jose Altuve a couple of points behind Adrian. And Matt Adams of the Cardinals at 336. Breaking ball, and that bends over the outside corner. 2-1.
Well, Richards is well aware of how hot Adrian is. 2-0. He wasn't going to throw a fastball for Adrian to hit. He threw an 85-mile-an-hour slider, which is probably going to result in the batter taking it most of the time on that count.
And that pitch, a called strike right on the inside corner. Beltre, a quick question.
Whoa. I think that one had so much movement, it moved out of the strike zone, caught Ron Kopel by surprise.
2-2 the count. And that pitch as low as Adrian very quickly shot that hand to point to first base.
If there's any doubt in Adrian's mind that he might get called for a check swing by the home plate umpire, he wants to make sure that it's the first base umpire that makes the call, not the home plate umpire.
Watch how quick Adrian's hand comes up. Look at there. Don't you dare call that. No, the count is full. Rios will be off and moving with the next pitch. The payoff from Richards. Outside, ball 4. And there are 2 aboard with 2 outs for Leonys Martin.
And the reason Adrian does that is because he doesn't feel like he swung the bat. And he feels like the first base umpire has the best look to verify what he thinks. And he doesn't want the home plate umpire to rush to that call, not having as good a look as the first base umpire. And the first home plate umpire plenty of times knows it's a strike, and he'll call it a strike because he can see it's a strike. But I think most of the time the first base umpire has the best look at it, and Adrian wants him to validate what he thinks.
That's a great explanation of the pointing. Now, what about the footwork, the dancing?
Well, that's unique to Adrian.
And the first pitch in and over off speed to Leonys Martin. It is strike 1.
I'm waiting to go to a Little League game and see a couple of kids imitating that little hop at the plate that Adrian does. Then you'll know it's really caught on. Somewhere, somehow, there's probably a few Little Leaguers doing that, too.
20th pitch of the inning coming up for Garrett Richards. It's in the dirt, and a nice stop by Conger. Well, I'll tell you one guy that is doing it or will be doing it, and that's Adrian's son.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Watch him out in the outfield taking batting practice with Adrian. He does it already, and he's only 7.
Yeah, I'd like to have 10% of his future earnings. The 7-year-old.
Yeah. Or 10% of Adrian's.
Well, I'll take Adrian's too. That's pretty much a given.
That's low and inside. Leonys now with a count of 2 balls and a strike. Martin hitting at .273, 5 home runs, and 27 driven in. Against the Angels, Martin has done a lot of work. .359 average with 12 stolen bases in the last 15 games. Got Rios at second, Beltre at first. Richards with the 2-1. Kind of a hard slider again, and it's 2-2.
Yeah, I think that's just a case of Leonys is geared up to hit a fastball right there, and he's going to try and drive one. And Richards spoils his way of thinking with that slider. He's been struggling to throw his fastball over the plate, so he went to a slider right there and got the swing and a miss. That pitch probably out of the strike zone.
The right-hander is ready, a check of second. The 2-2. Grounded out to Kendrick at second base. On to Pujols, and that will do it for the Rangers. Now they get a hit and a walk with 2 outs, but strand a couple of runners. We have played one at Globe Life Park. Rangers nothing, Angels nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. we head to the top of inning number 2. And a good-looking concessions out here tonight. Making me hungry looking at the plates. Josh Hamilton start things off in the second, the middle third of the LA order to face Nick Tepesch. The first pitch to Hamilton is off the plate inside, and finally he didn't see a hittable pitch on the first one.
Yeah, and I agree with that philosophy wholeheartedly. Don't throw him a good pitch to hit on the first pitch.
Breaking ball down and in, and it's 2 balls, no strikes. Hamilton last night 3 doubles in 5 trips to the plate. His second career 3-double game last night. Had one with the Rangers back almost 4 years ago in Boston. Tepesch to the wind. And the pitch ripped foul down the first base side by Alfredo Griffin. Count moves to 2-1. Hamilton, 5 home runs, 25 driven in, a .293 average. Missed significant time with that ligament tear in his thumb. Hard hit ball, but that's right out to the short right fielder, and that's Rougned Odor. Into the teeth of the shift, and Hamilton is out. Eric Ibar coming up next, and let's welcome in Jim Knox. Hello, Jim.
All right, appreciate it, Buzz. Big group from West Texas here cheering the Rangers on tonight. Good to have you guys on. Also, got some Shreveport, Louisiana fans, Ranger fans, in attending tonight. Community Corner tonight, we're talking about an evening with a legend. That is Pudge Rodriguez. It all takes place September 6th, Saturday. To get your tickets and to listen to Pudge, an exclusive question and answer session, log on to TexasRangers.com/foundation. September 6th is Saturday. Buzz?
All right, Knoxy, thank you. Adrian Beltre. Trying to play soccer with that thing, it looked like, for a second.
Right, he came in after the ball, but when he got to it, it was still fair. He anticipated that it was going to go foul, so he had to let it roll some more and then chase it and get it as it went foul. So that's some smart playing right there.
Yep.
And along the way, he had to make sure he didn't step on it while it was fair. So he accomplished what he went after to do, and that was keep that ball, make sure it's foul.
Normally, when you talk about footwork, it's a little bit different than that was, but that was great footwork.
Yeah, great footwork.
Now 0-1 the count to Ibar. Switch hitting shortstop. He takes the slider from Tepesch inside. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Yeah, Ibar knocked in 3 runs last night. He's got a chance to go into the All-Star break with 50 RBIs.
Isn't that something?
Most he's ever had is mid-30s.
Yeah, for a whole year.
For a whole year, yeah.
2-1 now.
Well, he's played himself into an all-star player, no doubt about it.
Yeah, he was first Angel shortstop since Gary DeSarcina to be named to the All-Star team. That was back in '95 when DeSarcina made the Midsummer Classic. 3-1 now as Tepesch unable to locate the last 3 pitches. Ibar hitting 5th in the order, be followed by the second baseman. That's Howie Kendrick. Tepesch winds the 3-1 pitch. Hit well to center field, but Martin retreating has a play and makes the catch. Ibar hitting it to the big part of the ballpark. The Rangers have a pretty speedy outfielder out there to run that down with Jonas Martin. No, 2 gone, and Howie Kendrick coming up. Good look from the top of the lower section of seating out here at Globe Life Park. Our RF camera roaming around the facility, giving you shots from all different viewpoints. Depending on where your tickets are, we get a shot for you with that camera. Kendrick at .286 with 4 home runs. He has driven in 42. After a high fastball, and Tepesch now the advantage in the count at no balls and 2 strikes.
Well, in Nick's last start, we've already talked about it. He gave up 3 hits, 3 walks, 5 runs in the first inning to the New York Mets and threw 37 pitches. But then regrouped and came back and threw 5 more innings and saved the bullpen some wear and tear by going 6 full innings in that ball game. So he turned a terrible start into a serviceable start by being able to pitch 6 innings in it, only giving up 1 run after the tough first inning.
Another 0-2 pitch. Yeah, you know, we talk about Scott Baker and what he's done lately, and he's done a great job of saving the bullpen. I guess we overlooked Tepesch a little bit. That job that in New York that he did was really critical.
Yeah, 37 pitches in the first inning, and you know, you wonder, can he get out of the first, and how long can he go? And he did. It was valuable.
Kendrick flies to right center field. Over there is Alex Rios, and just like that, Nick Tepesch, another quick 1-2-3 innings. That is 13 pitches in the second inning. No score. Tweet your photo for a chance to have it shown on one of our upcoming telecasts. And that's all thanks to the good folks at AT&T. Just use hashtag SouthwestFanPhoto, and your photo might be selected to be aired during the season. We will select a picture each night that we are on Fox Sports Southwest, and you'll see tonight's selection a little bit later on. Bottom of the second inning, Jake Smolinski to lead things off. Smolinski making a huge splash for the Rangers. 8 hits in his first 4 games. And that is a franchise record. George Wright had 7 hits in his first 4. That was back in 1982. And Smolinski did him one better. Jake 8 out of 14 thus far. And he gets jammed on a fastball by Richards. He's down in the count now. No balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, this will be a good test for Jake. Richards has by far the best stuff he will have seen in his brief opportunity to play at the major league level. When you look at, if you had to pick 5 pitchers in the American League who are the guys with the best stuff and the toughest to hit, you'd have to include Richards in that group of 5. Stats bear that out. Opponent's batting average is only 196.
Yeah, that's not very much.
And it's not like, occasionally you'll have a guy, well, that was a comfortable 0 for 4. Meaning he wasn't throwing very hard, he just tricked me. In this case with this guy, a whole lot of trickery going on right here.
That pitch chopped foul one more time over toward the Angels dugout. Still a ball and 2 strikes. Garrett Richards with that 10-2 mark, a 2.71 ERA, and that 196 average you were talking about, Tom. He is putting it all together the way the Angels had envisioned. Another 1-2 is on the way. Hit him. Fastball running in on Smolinski, and it got him in the left arm someplace.
Well, Richards has obviously thrown the ball well, but he hasn't had what you would call pinpoint command yet in the game. He's thrown a lot of pitches, 28 pitches, 16 strikes, and 12 balls. Oh boy, I got him right in the elbow too,
Yeah.
didn't I?
Yeah, just above the point of the elbow.
Yeah, you're hoping for forearm or a muscle. Oh boy,
Man,
what a shot! Slow motion. Look at the arm vibrate.
certainly absorbed most of that impact.
A lot of guys choose to wear the elbow on their lead elbow, and there's a good example of why a hitter would consider wearing that pad on his elbow to keep from having one of those 97-mile-an-hour fastballs bear in on your elbow.
Kevin Harmon, the Rangers trainer out there, taking a look at him. You can see the mark right there just on the inside of the point of the elbow.
It's probably going to get worse as time goes on.
Washington probably asking the pertinent questions like, how bad does it hurt?
You know, I think as a player, what you try to do now is you try to stay in the game, and as bad as it hurts, try to run the bases, and that shouldn't keep you from running the bases. Get back in the dugout and then see what it feels like to catch a ball and try to take a swing. Hope it loosens up on you a little bit. Chances are, if he had to go up and hit right now, he might not be able to do it.
Yeah. Benjamin Molina talking to Smolinski down there, and Smolinski aboard the hard way to lead things off. Carlos Pena, the next hitter, will step in. Pena, 137 with the average, a home run and 2 RBI. A rip and a miss, and the bat going right next, back to the backstop next to Robinson Chirinos, the on-deck hitter. Well, it's not. Chirinos handed Pena the bat and also the stickum stuff. Here, use some of this, will you?
I can remember a couple of times when Adrian Beltre was batting after Josh Hamilton when Josh was letting the bat go.
Yeah.
He went back in the dugout one time, wouldn't go in the on-deck circle.
Well, I can't say that I blame him.
No, that was happening pretty regularly there until Josh figured out a way to keep from doing that.
Velcro. 0-1 the count as Richard sets. Now 0-2. Pena, not a lot of at-bats against Gary Richards, 1 for 4. Hitting from down in the count this time. Rangers had a hit and a walk in the first inning. Both those came with 2 outs, however. They've had a hit batter, Jake Smolinski, leading off this inning by getting aboard. Foul ball out toward the shortstop position. The turn is not in time. Pena able to leg it out. That was started by the third baseman, David Freese, who was playing in the shortstop hole. And he fed it to the shortstop, Eric Ibar. It's kind of an awkward positioning with third baseman and shortstop trying to turn the double play.
Yeah, it wasn't a very hard hit ball. And had Ibar fielded it and thrown it to Kendrick, they might have been able to turn it. But with the third baseman feeding it to the shortstop, they weren't quite able to turn it. You got to think if it was Ibar to Kendrick, they probably would have turned it.
Yeah, I would think so. Ibar didn't look real comfortable coming across.
As quick as Ibar is, he's not used to coming across from that angle.
Yeah, called strike now to Robinson Chirinos, who was spinning out of the way of that inside fastball. Chirinos hitting at 253.
That'd be a good one to ask Mac. Shortstops, when they catch the ball to throw it to first base, everything is right in front of them.
Right.
When the second baseman goes, his back is to the runner, and that's not quite as comfortable a position to be in, especially when you're not used to doing it.
Swing and a miss by Chirinos on the slider. It's 0-2. Robinson, 9 home runs and 29 RBI. Almost every offensive category now, Robinson Chirinos has established new career highs for himself. He has been playing extremely well, especially the last month offensively. And a check swing there. And the appeal to first, and he punched him out. Jim Reynolds, the first base umpire, asked a little bit belatedly, but he had that right fist all ready to ring up the strike. Third strikeout for Garrett Richards.
great look at it.
Yeah.
When you go that far, that generally will be called a strike. It shows how much a batter can be fooled by a pitch, a breaking ball, when maybe you're looking for a fastball.
And Rougned Odor takes a breaking ball for strike one. Odor, 253 with 3 home runs and 17 driven in. Rougned, in the middle of trying to make some adjustments that he feels are necessary. It seems like opposing pitchers now have made the first round of adjustments. Now it's up to Rougned to make the next round. Down to the count here, though. No balls, 2 strikes. Odor on this homestand, a little bit longer than that 169 average over the last 20 games, but in the homestand, just 2 for 13. It's a 154 mark. Bainey at first, not being held on. 0-2 pitch. Grounded into the hole. Long throw for Ibar is not in time. Odor able to leg it out. Well, there you go, Rougned. That infield single with the good wheels.
You see Ibar shading up the middle. He has to go far to his right. Knows he's going to have to get rid of it as quickly as he can with as much on it as he can. He's a terrific shortstop, but didn't have quite enough time to get Odor, who beats it out.
And you saw where the second baseman Kendrick was playing. He was over in the hole between first and second, so no chance for him to get to the bag at second for a potential force play. Back to the top of the order now, Shin-Soo Choo. And a check swing on the first pitch. No swing. The field down to Lance Barrett, third base umpire. Choo down on strikes his first time up there. So batting average is 248. Shin-Soo with a 5-game hitting streak coming into play tonight. He's had exactly 1 hit in each of those 5 games. Richards 1-0. First breaking ball that Choo had seen. 1-1. Last 10 ball games against the Angels. This goes back for Choo to the beginning of last year. 350 average. Richards' next pitch. It's out of play to the left. For the second time in as many innings, you see the Choo jerseys here on it's Korean Heritage Night here at Globe Life Park. A real nice ceremony prior to the ball game. Large contingent of Korean residents in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Upwards of 75 to maybe as many as 100,000, you understand. Got him swinging. There's a sharp breaking ball, and that is the 4th strikeout for Garrett Richards. Second time he's gotten 2. No runs a hit, 2 men are left. After 2, no score in Arlington. folks here obviously are aware that we have a guest in our booth. They are going crazy for it. Tom Verducci of the Fox Network telecast joining us. Tom, thanks very much for stopping
Nice of
by.
you to show my family on the TV.
It's okay. We knew you wanted to have your passes shown where that section was. You guys are in town. You're going to do the game here tomorrow night, and then getting ready to do the All-Star game up in Target Field on next Tuesday.
Absolutely. It's going to be looking forward to that one for sure. I look forward to any All-Star game, but being in the booth with Harold Reynolds and Joe Buck, that's doesn't get any better than that for me.
Those guys have seen a few ball games. You've all seen a few ball games between you. Dan Robertson, by the way, has taken over in left field. Daniel in for Jake Smolinski, who was plunked by that Garrett Richards pitch last half inning. No surprise that he couldn't answer the bell for the third. It, puffed up pretty quickly on him.
Tom, we've remarked a couple of times after seeing the All-Star teams what a great job the fans have done picking the team. Would you agree with that?
I definitely agree with that, Tom, and I think that's been the case for the last few years. You know, it used to be a popularity vote. The bigger market teams I always thought had a big advantage, or you looked at who was home, who had the most home games right before the break when the voting started. None of that's true anymore, and I think obviously online voting has evened out the playing field, and I think they are making very good decisions.
What do you think about the combination of the fan vote and the player vote, too, deciding the other spots?
I don't know. I think the system still can be worked out a little bit. The player vote, it's nice that they have a vote. But for instance, the player vote, if it comes out the same as the fan vote, then they go to the second place player on the player's vote, even if that guy didn't get tremendous support. There may be one obvious first place candidate, and I'm not sure that second guy should automatically go on the player's vote.
Sure. Now, they're the starters for you in the American League. And, yeah, I don't think you can have too many. Well, there's always somebody will say, no, he doesn't belong there. But, you know, I think overall, like you were saying, Tom, I think the fans did a great job of selecting the starters.
They did, and obviously you saw Nelson Cruz there at the DH position got tremendous support this year. So I think the fans also making a statement that forgive and forget, move on. And with those kind of numbers, he obviously deserves to be at the game.
Now, being in the American League West, we play Oakland 19 times a year, and they've been a terrific team. Strike through the David Freese. And you hear so many times, and we're probably guilty of it ourselves over the years, saying we're not exactly sure how Oakland does it. On paper, it doesn't look like a team that could do it, but the sum of the parts, blah, blah, blah. But now with 6 All-Stars, maybe they've got good players.
Yeah, they got some talent, don't they? You know, I think the world's figuring that out, that they're not a fluke, you know, and they're not an overachieving team. Right now, to me, it's the best team in baseball, and some of the metrics will tell you that. And I was talking to Mike Scioscia before the game about that, the Angels manager, and he did say that in terms of 1 through 25, the way that they're put together, that they really have no weaknesses. The catching platoon, first base, they complement one another so well. In the bullpen, same thing, and Bob Melvin, I think, does a great job making the pieces fit.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And Mike Scioscia, of all people, would know, having to beat his head against them year after year for the last 13 years. Beltre, another pretty normal play for Adrian. Two gone.
Give us your opinion on our All-Star third baseman.
I'm not sure people understand how he makes these difficult plays look easy. I mean, we saw the pick to the glove side earlier in the game, and now you're seeing the backhand side. This is not an easy hop right here. Comes up on him. Just such soft hands. I mean, you guys are lucky enough to see this every night.
Yeah. Tom and I talked about this, too, as you get to look at it in real time. There's not a whole lot of time there to react. We knew he was a good player just from watching him perform for Seattle or the Dodgers. Not until we saw him on a daily basis do we understand how good he really is.
Yeah, and you know, I think it was about a year ago I had people start mentioning his name with Hall of Fame. And I think a lot of people said, whoa, he's a good player. But I don't think there's any question he is on that track.
Tom, can you hang around since you're happening?
I sure can.
Just getting started on this. Tepish, another 1-2-3 inning. We're going to the bottom of the third. Still no score in Arlington. Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. And by the all-new Mazda 3 with seamless connectivity. Now, a scoreless ball game. We head to the bottom of the third. Tom Verducci from the Fox Network broadcast has joined us, and we were just talking about Adrian Beltre and so the perception, I guess, around all of baseball about Beltre, about being a good player. Now, all of a sudden, you're hearing things about Cooperstown, etc.
Well, he starts climbing those lists, especially at the third base position. We all know about the glove, but now you see the offensive numbers. The guy just keeps getting better with age.
Andrews leading things off for the Rangers.
I'll tell you, I'm sorry, the other thing I like about Adrian, you guys see this all the time, he has so much fun playing this game. He reminds me a little bit of Derek Jeter that way, always smiling, always talking to opponents.
There's a saw-off job. Ibar on the run when he gets Andrews. It's almost hilarious now the way he and Elvis Andrews act with each other on the infield. You expect it looks like a couple of kids in Little League having a good time out there, but they can both play a little bit.
Tom, a lot of the focus on the All-Star game is on Derek Jeter in his final season, final All-Star game. I know it's not a simple question to answer quickly, but how about your thoughts on that, Derek Jeter in his career?
Amazing. You know, I've known Derek since his very first day in the major leagues, and I think the best compliment I can give him is that he hasn't changed a bit. I mean, what you see now is what he was at 20 and 21 when he got to the big leagues. Just very respectful. Obviously carries himself in such a great way on and off the field. And a repeater. I use that word repeater. Just a consistent player year after year. Reliable. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. You know, we had that great moment last year at Citi Field with Mariano Rivera, where the player stayed off the field and literally gave the field to Mariano alone. Believe me, I don't know what's going to happen Tuesday night, but it's going to be fun and exciting and unique.
Well, you have to think it's going to be something like that. I remember when Cal Ripken played in his last game, wasn't it that when Alex Rodriguez went over to third base and said, "You play shortstop"?
Yeah, that was a great moment. Cal didn't want to go at first, and Joe Torre was the American League manager. It's like he was landing planes, just keep waving him. I'm waving him. Come on, let's go. You're playing short. That was a great moment.
Hey, quite honestly, that's one thing baseball does, I think, better than any other sport is the individual sending them out the right way when you have that kind of a situation.
No question. And there's something about the stage of the All-Star game, too. One of my favorite moments was 1999 with a tribute to Ted Williams.
Absolutely.
And again, that was unscripted, the way the players just didn't want to leave the field and just kind of walked over to surround Ted and give him all their wishes. And I know the people on the TV side were saying, let's go, we need to get on with the game here. But that was all unscripted, where the players just wanted to hang on to that moment and give Ted his proper due.
Well, I don't know if I were a player that anything could be done that would be greater than that, to have all-star players pay their tribute to me like that.
Pitch to Martin. A rip and a miss, and no surprise, Beltre at first after he gets a hit. He's the league's leading hitter, and he's upping that average just a bit. A couple of pretty good hitters over there talking a little bit. Pujols and Beltre.
Pujols could have been an all-star, couldn't he?
Yeah, he could have been. And in fact, I was talking to Don Baylor, the Angels hitting coach, about that. Nice read by Beltre as the ball got away. And he did say, for a guy hitting his 500th home run, there should be some sort of exemption or, a commissioner's prerogative to put someone like that into the game. It's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
Good jump by Adrian. Looked like Condor might have had a chance to get him with a good throw, but ball sails on him just a little bit.
So with the third consecutive inning with 2 outs, the Rangers get a runner in scoring position. 2-1. Here's the count to Leonys Martin. Pujols underhanding to Richards, and that'll do it. Tom, appreciate you stopping by and joining us. We will watch you tomorrow night and on the All-Star game on Tuesday.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay. Scoreless as we head to the 4th inning here in Arlington.
Fox Sports Fan Express rolled in, and look at all these fine-looking faces from Waco. That's right, it's Baylor night, and they got a lot of great people on hand, and you guys played Ranger. Sick'em Bears, all right. A lot of Ranger trivia on the way home and also on the way up. Also, Levi Norwood, the big wide receiver in action. Now, he did not take the bus.
No, we happened upon him here. Our good friend Levi.
All right, Levi, you having a good time?
Yes, sir. Definitely having a good time.
Root on the Rangers for a big win tonight, huh?
Oh, yeah.
And then get ready for the opening season. You guys take on SMU. Any prediction?
We're going to win. Win the first game in the new
What? You're predicting they're going to win? Okay. Hopefully June Jones is not watching tonight. No, just say you're gonna do your best.
We're going to do our best.
There we go. Okay. Sorry, Coach Browse. I didn't put him on the spot or anything. All right. Appreciate it. Good to see you. Thanks, guys. Good to have Waco in the house. Thank you. Buzz.
All right, Knoxley. It's the top of the order here in the 4th inning for the Los Angeles Angels. Scoreless ball game. Out of the Baylor green and gold out there. You see them on hand here tonight.
Nick threw about the same amount of pitches in 3 innings that he did in New York in 1 inning.
Yeah,
but it definitely turned his pitch count around. Great start to the game for Nick.
Had a 9-pitch inning in the first, a 14-pitch second inning, a 13-pitch third inning. That was number 40 that he just unleashed to Cole Calhoun, who popped out to start things here tonight. 2-2 pitch. Now the count has gone full. Calhoun hitting in the leadoff spot to be followed by Mike Trout. Scoreless ball game. The Rangers with the only 3 hits in this game. Tepesch, a long look in. And now Calhoun tired of waiting. This is just the second full count that Tepesch has had tonight. He's been getting ahead of hitters on a regular basis. Payoff pitch. Foul back. Nick making his 4th start this year at home. He was obviously had more road starts than he has here at home. One of the oddities of the scheduling. He's 2-1 in the first 3 starts with a 3.32 home ERA. Hard hit ball, but right there is the veteran Carlos Pena. That's 1 and gone. Mike Trout coming up, and before he steps in, let's take time for a Mazda game break. Here's John Radigan.
All right, Buzz. Blue Jays in the race. Top 43-1. Jose ripped the shot to right off Chris Archer. Ben Zobrist can't make the diving catch. 2-run score. That made it 5-1. It's now 5-2 in the 6th inning. Jays in front of the Rays, guys.
All right, John, thank you. Blue Jays, Rangers opponent after the All-Star break. Rangers will enjoy the All-Star break here at home, then head to Toronto, and then on to face the New York Yankees. Our DirecTV standings for you. The American League East sees Baltimore 3 games ahead of Toronto at the moment, 4 of the Yankees. That's deep left center field. The ballpark is not going to hold that one as Mike Trout gets the first hit of the night off of Nick Tepesch, and it leaves the ballpark deep into the bullpen of the Angels, and LA leads 1-0.
Yeah, that ball literally looked like a 2-iron. A line shot that just kept rising until it smashed against the back of the Angel bullpen. That is a rope. Pitch down. He likes the ball down.
Yep.
And he went down. And there's no vibration on the bat with that one. That ball jumped out of here. That's got to be a 112 to 116 hit speed, you would think. 107. That's up there, boy.
Also 418 feet on the carry.
Yeah. That wasn't a fly ball. That was a line drive.
Well, the Angels jump out to a 1-0 lead. That's their first base runner of the night. And Pujols, it's a high fly ball down the right field line. It is slicing and long run over for Rios, but it's back in the second row. Watch this here. He's winding up, and boy, he lets that thing go. Watch that. Yow. Strong young man, and he gets a lot of bat speed going in that thing. Pretty short swing. Boy, he generates a lot of bat speed. And Pujols, speaking of bat speed, chops that next pitch foul, and the count remains a ball and 2 strikes. Pujols grounded out to Adrian Beltre, his first time up. 271 the average. Tepesch back to him. Inside fastball fouled away. Pujols, for the 10th time in his 14-year career, has 20 or more home runs at the All-Star break. Excuse me, 9 times in his 14-year career. This is the first time since 2010 that he's done that. Checks his swing on the breaking ball low and away, and that evens the count at 2-2. Tepesch to the plate. Breaking ball looped to center. That's a base hit. Pujols swinging the bat well, and when he starts waiting on pitches like that, and he's getting pitches to fall in for, getting hits to fall in for him, he is a tough customer.
Well, it looked like he got fooled a little bit on this curveball, but he still hit it pretty hard up the middle. Saw a lot of pitches. Finally got one that he could connect on and hit it back up the middle. The last 26 games, he's knocked in 27 runs and hit .330, so he's in a pretty good groove. As we said last night, it's hard to find an Angel hitter that's not in a pretty good groove right now. That's the way they've been playing as a team.
Albert Pujols talking with his elder. That's Carlos Pena. A couple pretty good first basemen over there. They know a few little thing about hitting home runs and playing first base. Well, Mike Maddox finishes his chat with Nick Tepesch. 1 on, 1 out. And Josh Hamilton at the plate. Hamilton hit one into the teeth of the shift and grounded out to shallow right field. Rougned Odor took care of his ground ball. Outside for ball 1. Tepesch now with 17 pitches in this inning. It's already the most that he has thrown in any one frame here tonight. 1-0 pitch to left field. Long run for Daniel Robertson. Still on the move, and he makes a nice running catch. Pujols is all the way to second. He has to go back to first in a hurry, and he does just that. Boy, Daniel Robertson putting on a burst of speed for about 40 yards. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's not an easy ball to catch. He had to go a long way for the sky-high pop-up. He had time to get there, but what happens as an outfielder when you're sprinting like this, your head bobs and it makes the ball bob. And as you get to the ball's moving around a little bit. You're on the dead run, and you're trying to slow down, keep your head still, so that you can settle on the ball and make the catch on the run. So it looks like, well, there's a high fly ball. He outran it and he caught it, but a little bit more goes into it than that. That was a long run and a nice play. You go back to your position on after that ball and you say to yourself, "Oh boy, I'm glad I got that one."
Ibar offs a softly hit line drive to right field for a base hit, and Pujols will travel on around to third. So the Angels now, with 2 outs, have runners at the corners, and Howie Kendrick coming up. Ibar with his first hit of the night.
Well, we talk about Ibar in the year that the All-Star year that he's having, the runs that he's knocked in. It's in pretty good evidence when you see him batting 5th for Mike Scioscia in this lineup. A lineup filled with good hitters, and the guy that's hitting 5th is the shortstop, Eric Ibar. Over the years, I don't think you would have expected him to be hitting in the middle of the lineup like that, but this year he's turned into an RBI man.
A 2-on, 2-out now, and Howie Kendrick, who hit a fly ball to right field his first time, steps in. 1 ball, no strikes. Kendrick now in the middle of a slightly prolonged 0-3. He's 0 for his last 8. And this coming off a homestand that's hit an even 500. Took an 0-4 last night, 0 for 4. Takes a strike from Tepesch to even the count at 1-1. With runners in scoring position this year, Howie Kendrick, again, very good. A 300 average. And he's got Pujols down the line at third, as Tepesch is going to work on Ibar a bit at first. Pujols had the 1-out single, and an out later he was pushed around by Ibar's base hit. One and one as Howie Kendrick waits at the plate. That's out of play to the right. Kendrick, if you'll remember back to the series the Angels and Rangers played in Anaheim this last time, Kendrick was trying to take the ball to right field. It seemed like every swing that he took. And if he pulled the ball, it's because it was an off-speed pitch that he got the head of the bat out through. He had that one double that went off the wall for an RBI, and several hard hit balls to right and right center. There goes Ibar. The pitch is high. The throw to second is in time, and nailed at second base is Ibar. Robinson Chirinos firing a laser down to second to nail Ibar, and that's the end of the inning. But Mike Trout gets the Angels on the board, his 22nd home run of the year, and Chirinos prevents more damage by throwing out Ibar. Bottom of the 4th coming up, 1-0 Angels.
Here at the ballpark because it is Korean Heritage Night, and our favorite leader, I guess we can say, Ted Kim, here to tell us all about it.
Well, we're here tonight to share a little bit about our culture, and we've had some amazing performances with our drum dance. We've had our percussion group outside the stadium greeting the crowds with Korean music as they've been coming in. And we've had an international singing sensation of the former Wonder Girls, Youngee, to sing the Korean national anthem with pride. Now, the most important of all, we're going to have a Taekwondo presentation after this is over, before we start the fireworks, and we're going to tell you why we're doing all this. The reason why is because of this right here. This is South Korea, that's North Korea. Why do we have that difference? It's because of America. America came to our aid 65 years ago when we were in the midst of a war. We had no hope. They came to our side and they rescued us from that war, giving us an opportunity for freedom and for liberty and all the culture that we have. The singing of the national anthem, it's all because of the strength and the love and the integrity of the United States of America. And we, foremost, are proud to be Americans.
Well said, Ted. Well, we appreciate it. Thanks for everything you've done. And I understand you guys are cheering all game long, correct?
That's absolutely correct. We have a professional cheerleader right here to lead us on with the choo-choo train.
All right, Miss Professional, go ahead. Hurry, please.
1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2.
Very nice. Well done. Oh, there we go. Round 2, Tom. All right. Keep it going, guys. Way to go. There we go. Buzz.
That guy's got me pumped up.
Yep. You weren't fired up before.
Wow.
You have to be now.
That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, Daniel Robertson fired up as he had his first at bat and results in a walk to lead off the 4th inning. Well, Robertson, who took over for Jake Smolinski after Smolinski was hit on that left elbow by a pitch from Garrett Richards. Robertson with the leadoff walk here in the 4th, and Carlos Pena now will come up. Got the information on Smolinski, by the way. X-rays were negative on the elbow. Just a pretty nasty bruise that he had just above the point of the elbow. But good, the X-rays came back with nothing major going on. That was the first walk, the second walk, I should say, issued by Garrett Richards tonight. Carlos Pena couldn't check his swing in time. It's 0-1. Pena rounded into a fielder's choice back in the 2nd inning. Again, the Angels in an extreme overshift. 3 players on the right side of the diamond in the infield, and third baseman David Freese playing at a shortstop position. 1 ball and 1 strike. Hits are even at 3 in this ball game. Robertson with the leadoff walk has gotten aboard to start the Ranger 4th. Difference in the game was Mike Trout's 22nd home run of the year. With 1 out in the top of the 4th inning. Pulled slowly out toward second. Kendrick goes to Freese, the third baseman, covering second for the force as Robertson going in hard. The play just did beat him, and that's out number 1. Pena reaching first.
Yeah, that was a pretty risky play, but a nice play by Kendrick because he got the lead runner. If you're Daniel Robertson, we saw this play the other night. Your concentration really should be to get to second base as quickly as you can, because there's not going to be a double play ball.
Right.
And balls hit too slowly, and the risk is that you're called safe, but you overslide the bag and get tagged out.
Another routine force out on Pena's ground ball. The last time was scoring 5-6. This time was 4-5. The shift does weird things to the scorebook as well. Now Robinson Chirinos down swinging his first time up there. Got Pena at first, 1 out in the Ranger 4th inning. Chirinos, 2 out of 8 now on this homestand. Richards, a high set. Fires a strike. Chirinos, a 4-game hitting streak coming into play here tonight. And he's been 5 for 15 over those 4 games. You look at what he's done the last 9 ball games. How about a 370 average? Veteran Carlos Pena stepping his lead off at first. Benji Molina, the ever-present stopwatch down there. A called strike to the inside corner. Chirinos going to jump him back out of the way and took it. It's 1-2. Garrett Richards about ready to throw his 64th pitch of the night. Chirinos waiting. Richards reading the signs. Now the 1-2. Talking about the improvement that Robinson Chirinos has made. You go back to 25th of May, about 27 games ago for Chirinos. Since then he's hit .308. Gets that pitch up and in. Not only has he hit almost .310, he's had 7 home runs and 21 RBI in those 27 games.
No, just like it's the case with Adrian Beltre, it's hard to look at Robinson and find anything but a superlative. He's swung the bat. I think at the beginning of the season, you'd have to say you're pleasantly surprised with his offense. And he's throwing out runners.
Whoops. Swanger's throw is into center field. The strikeout on Chirinos. And a stolen base, and advancing to third on the air is Carlos Pena. Pena off and moving with the 3-2 pitch. It's his first stolen base of the year.
You talk about Robinson's throwing. It really was in evidence last inning. Nick Tepesch is struggling a little bit. There's a couple of men on. You've got the dangerous Howie Kendrick at the plate. And he guns down Ibar for the last out of the inning to get Nick out of the inning. It's a huge play by Robinson.
Chirinos caught looking at that 3-2 hook. And that's the 5th strikeout for Garrett Richards. 2 gone. Here is Odor, who had an infield single back in the 2nd inning. A swinging strike 1. Moved in at .258 now with the average. Carlos Pena down at third base. And Richard drops in another breaking ball. 0-2 to Odor. Adrian Beltre holding court down there at the far end of the bench. Alex Rios, Leonis Martin, Elvis Andrus. Oh, paying attention. 1-2 as that fastball sails high. Odor making his 46th start of the year. They've all come at second base. Richards with the 70th pitch of the night. Low and inside.
He thought he had that one.
Yep. Mike Scioscia, that incredulous look on his face again. Can't believe that wasn't called a strike.
It's one of those borderline pitches. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. Would have been a perfect pitcher's pitch.
Now the 2-2. In the dirt, swung on and missed, and the throw down to first. Now, that's gonna do it. I had seen the first base umpire Jim Reynolds hold his hands up. That'll do it. Back-to-back strikeouts. Rangers strand a runner. On to the 5th, 1-0 Los Angeles.
Globe Life Park in Arlington. It's been well documented that Ron Washington had a closed-door meeting with his players last night, lasted over a half an hour. I asked him today what he hopes his players take from that meeting last night.
I want to see more commitment, more than anything else. There's two things that you control when you wake up in the morning. The attitude you possess, you control that. You can get upset if you want at the day, but that's on you. And you control your commitment to whatever your day brings into your life that you do for a living. You control that. And if you let that get away from you, then I don't think you need to be here. I'm committed every day. And I just wanted to make sure that they understand they have to bring that same commitment. It can't just be a one-way street.
Guys, you all have been around Wash for a long time. We all have. You very rarely see him display so much emotion in this regard. It was quite eye-opening to see that on display last night. It clearly showed the frustration that he's feeling with his team and his desire to communicate exactly how he was feeling. And I'm curious to get the three of your takes on this subject.
Thanks, Em. Well, I think one thing we need to get frustration out of there. That's not an emotion that Ron Washington deals with. Because frustration means you can't do anything about it. And Wash feels anything but that. He gets upset and he's disappointed in some things that he's seen. But I think last night was just a culmination of how things have been going and what he perceived as guys not giving the kind of effort that he expects on a nightly basis.
Right, Buzz, I think you're right. And, with the way things have been going so far this year, hey, they are what they are. Mm-hmm. You've still got to go out there and play. And I think last night, we saw a couple of plays from veteran ball players that have won before, that understand how to win, have some mental lapses. And that's just not something that Wash deems acceptable. Everybody's teaching, not just the coaching staff, but those veteran players, the Elvises, the Beltres, the Rios, the Penas, those guys are out there and they're teaching. The younger guys are looking to them on how to handle a situation like this. And Wash really just had to, say something last night. I think that was just, the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah. Tom, is that kind of what you
and I think the good thing is that these guys over the years have played so hard for him that he very seldom has to have that kind of a message. But he's not going to shy away from it when he has when he needs to, and I think that's what happened yesterday. He got it off his chest, and I don't think he's worried about the reaction of the players because they played hard for him every minute of the way. Last night, it just got away from him, and he wasn't going to let it go any farther.
And Wash is really good about saying what he has to say, and that's the end of it. He doesn't carry it over in today. If you think, well, the manager got mad at me last night. That's a discussion we'll continue as Tepesch has a very quick 9-pitch inning, sends the Angels down in order. Halfway through the ballgame tonight, the Angels leading the Rangers 1-0 on Fox Sports Southwest. Friday, July 25th. Fans attending that game with the Rangers and the Oakland A's will be treated to a special post-game concert by the Turnpike Troubadours and sponsored by Budweiser. For an additional $10, fans can purchase a field pass and get to watch the concert standing on the field. Game tickets and field passes are available at TexasRangers.com/concerts. Beautiful shot from the top of the home run porch. Looking out over Globe Life Park, and a beautiful, beautiful shot. RF camera, I mentioned, there he is, way up there, in the middle of the home run porch. Now the Rangers come to bat here in the bottom of the 5th inning. It's the top of the order. Shin-Soo Choo to start it off against Garrett Richards. And Richards firing a strike. Richards had struck out 6 tonight. Gotten Choo both times. 0-1 pitch. Still pumping it in, high octane at 96. 0-2.
He's one of those rare starting pitchers that starts out in the mid-90s and ends in the mid-90s from pitch number 1 to pitch number 110. A strong kid.
Got him swinging. Oh, a good off-speed pitch, and that looks like the big curveball that Richards throws only occasionally, but it's good for his 7th strikeout of the night. Oh, one gone, and Elvis coming up.
Wow. No, he's throwing 97 miles an hour and then follows it up with that. That's many times what the result's going to be. The hitter swinging the pitch out of the strike zone.
That qualify as a hammer?
Yeah, it qualifies as would have struck me out every time. You know that. We're going to swing at first fastball and hope I can put it in play after that. He's pretty much in control.
I know I'm not trying to get to 2 strikes.
No.
Because you know that's coming.
Yeah, he's got 2 different ones, too. Elvis just saw the other one, the hard slider, at 87 or so. Elvis showing bunt, pulls the bat back, and it's a strike anyway. 0-2. Elvis a strikeout and a ground ball to short tonight. 0 for 2, the batting average at .265. Garrett Richards with 7 strikeouts now through the first 4 innings plus 1 hitter here in the 5th. Looping drive in for a base hit. Elvis just reaching out and poking that 0-2 pitch into left field. So 1 on, 1 out. Alex Rios coming up. Let's take time for a Mazda game break. Here's John Radigan.
All right, Buzz. White Sox and Indians, bottom of the 5th, were tied at 4 when Nick Swisher takes Hector Noesi deep to center, towering 2-run bomb. It's Swisher's 8th of the year. They score 3 in the inning and take a 6-4 lead, guys.
All right, John, thank you. The Rangers now with 4 hits tonight. Elvis is first, and Alex Rios had a base hit back in the 1st inning. He is 1 for 2. 1 ball, no strikes. Elvis trying to get a pretty good lead. Stepped off over there at first. Andrus has run wild in the recent past against these Angels. Seemed like every time he even looked at first, he never stopped it. Just kept right on going.
Hopefully he'll continue that right now.
Got 1 out with Alex Rios at the plate. Among other things, the running game has kind of left the Rangers too. And stolen base leaders. Elvis now down the list a bit. He's going. The pitch is outside. The throw is right on the money. They got him. And Elvis is looking into the Ranger dugout, saying, hey, take a look at it. He thought he had his hand in under there. And Ron Washington, kind of a semi-slow jog out there. Now, that tag looked like it got on his forearm before the hand got in there, right there.
Split second.
You can see why Elvis, though, thought he got his hand in there. He probably didn't feel the tag right away.
You know, a lot of times where, you know, a runner gets thrown out like that, it can be, I'm not saying it was in this instance, but it can be because of the lead that you take at first base. If you get just a half a step shorter than you normally do, that's the difference between being safe and out, as you saw right there. that would have been less than a half a step. So getting that lead from first base or wherever you're taking your lead from, first, second, or even third, it makes a difference that you get your absolute maximum lead every time.
Mac, when you took your lead, did you know exactly where you were? Did you do it the same way every time?
Same way every time. I never looked back at first base. I would take a 4.5 to 5 step lead every time in every ballpark.
Well, that'll do it. A base hit, but Todd Steeling takes care of it, and Richards ends up having a 1-2 inning. Mac, thanks very much. We'll continue these discussions as the weekend rolls on.
Love it.
All right. See you tonight after the ball game. Rangers trailing 1-0 as we head to the 6th inning here at Globe Life Park. Baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealer. The Ford Summer Spectacular Sales Event now playing at a Ford dealer near you. Well, the moon rising over Globe Life Park, and hopefully the Ranger fortunes rising along with it. Right now the Angels on top 1-0 as they come to bat in the top of the 6th inning. It'll be Hank Conger, the number 9 man. Will be followed by Cole Calhoun and Mike Trout. Nick Tepesch first pitch is outside for ball 1. Tepesch had kind of an odd evening. He's had 4 1-2-3 innings. The one that got him though was the 4th. Gave up the solo home run to Trout, then a base hit to Pujols, and also a base hit to Ibar, but escaped with just the 1 run.
Yep, Robinson Chirinos gunned down Ibar for the last out of that inning.
Fastball in 1-2.
Nick's using all his pitches very well. Mixing in some changeups. He had to throw 23 pitches in the 4th inning, but every other inning is a nice low pitch count. Going a lot of strikes.
1-2 offering. Right back to Tepesch. Is out number 1. Conger retired, and top of the order coming up now. Let's check in with Jim Knox again. Jim?
Oh, I appreciate it, Buzz. On Baylor night, look who we found here. Some of the women's softball players from the Baylor Bears on hand. You know, Final Four they got all the way to the College World Series. Coach Glenn Moore, this is quite a treat. You know, Baylor night, you come out here, watch the Rangers play. Off a great season you guys had.
Thank you very much. We're very grateful for the Texas Rangers and bringing us out tonight. All Baylor Nation is here supporting us and are supporting us over TV, so we're excited about being here.
Yeah, big surprise this year. You got all the way to the Final Four in the Women's College Softball World Series. Coming back next year, you look pretty strong as well.
Well, I think so. I don't think it's a big surprise. We wanted to win it all, though. So hopefully this team next year will rebound and build off of that a little bit, and we'll get there again.
There we go. Okay, you got a sick 'em Bears for us here, girls? Okay, let's see it real quick. Come on. Not bad. They need to work on that a little bit back in the back row, okay? All right, there we go. Okay, Buzz?
All right, Doxy. Nick Tepesch facing Cole Calhoun, who is 0 for 2 tonight. The 2-0 pitch. It is right down through there. Calhoun has popped out and grounded out. Last time the ground out to first was on a 3-2 pitch. It's one of the few times that Tepesch has gone to 3-2 tonight. This is high and away, and the count moves to 3-1. Calhoun hitting that leadoff spot. He'll be followed by the center fielder, Mike Trout. Nick to the wind, the 3-1 pitch. Line drive snared by a leaping Carlos Pena. What a play.
He hits a lot of balls that way. He's hit 2 of them tonight. He had a couple of doubles, a double and a triple the first game. He pulls the ball and he hits it hard and right toward first base, and that time Carlos was there to make the play. Nice play. He had a rope too.
I'm not sure that ball would have been fair had Pena not caught it. It's looking pretty good, but
I think it would have been foul, Buzz. I think it was fair when he caught it, but I think you're right. I think it would have hooked into foul territory.
Boy, that is some kind of reaction by Carlos Pena. Whew, goodness. Nick Tepesch might owe Pena at least lunch. You get a W here tonight, probably be dinner. Oh, 2 gone. Here's Mike Trout, the difference in the ballgame. Trout's 418-foot home run to left center field. One more time on that Pena play. .5 miles an hour. Now, he's a veteran, but he still can react pretty well. Little looping drive out toward right center field and backing up. Rougned Odor makes the catch, and it's another 1-2-3 inning this time on 12 pitches for Nick Tepesch. After 5.5, it's the Angels 1 and the Rangers nothing. It's time now for the Sonic Slam Inning, brought to you by Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is worth $100 and dinner for 2 at Sonic Drive-In. Tonight, the Rangers are hitting for Keith Jamison from Paris, Texas. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, Keith Jamison from Paris will win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Well, Adrian Beltre, who won last night in our Sonic Slam inning. Good guy to have up there right now, and he fouled back that first Garrett Richards pitch. It is 0-1. Beltre, last time up, extended his hitting streak to 15 straight.
Yeah, he rifled that ball at right field, too. We were talking to Tom Verducci when he hit that ball, but that was a bullet into right field.
1-1. But you've said it a couple times now about how well he's using the entire field, and it's incredible.
Yeah, it just depends what kind of pitch you throw and where you throw it as to where he's going to hit it.
Adrian up there, second highest average prior to the All-Star break since 2001. Josh Hamilton a little bit higher in 2010, 240 or 346. Adrian trying to catch up with him. He's at 343 right now. 2-1 the count. Adrian trying to tie this thing up. 2-2. Garrett Richards, 85 pitches thus far as he works with nobody out here in the 6th inning. Richards has struck out 7 tonight, coming off a game that saw him strike out 11 last time out against the Astros. The little jam shot down to Pujols. He will underhand to Richards covering. Beltre retired for the first time tonight. That is out number 1 and brings up Leonys Martin. Folks, the Rangers play the 3rd of a 4-game series tomorrow against the Angels, and it's also a chance to celebrate Eric Nadell's win of the 2014 Ford C. Frick Award. First 15,000 fans, 14 and older, get an Eric Nadell bobblehead of the recording of his iconic call of the play that sent the Rangers to their first World Series. That's courtesy of Nitto Tire Company. Tickets are available at TexasRangers.com, or you can call 972-RANGERS. One ball, no strikes to count. Leonys Martinez grounded out twice tonight, both to the right side. And he lines one to right center. That is down for a base hit. Martin, a well-struck single to right center field. He's aboard with 1 out. And Daniel Robertson with his second at bat.
And around that 96-mile-an-hour fastball, it's a little bit easier to do it when it's right down the middle.
Chevy pitch tracker showing you the location of that centered fastball. The Rangers now with 5 hits against Garrett Richards. They have not been able to chase anyone around the home plate yet. And Daniel Robertson, will see if he can't get a little further along that line. Pitch is high to him, 1 ball, no strikes. And you would think that with Leonys Martin, what he has done against the Angels, stealing bases, he would be a prime candidate to try and swipe second here.
Yep, I think he is.
Martin inching off. He's staying put. And the pitch is a strike. 1-1. Martin this year, 17 stolen bases in 25 attempts. Maybe the graphic of 13 stolen bases in the last 15 games against the Angels. Now the 1-1. To right field, not hit very hard, but Cole Calhoun, now he's throwing behind Leonys Martin in a 1-hop throw, and Martin just able to get back ahead of him. That is out number 2, and we bring up Carlos Pena. Calhoun was trying to decoy Leonys Martin. Watch him throw his hands up.
Yeah, I think he knew exactly where that ball was.
Yeah. Worth a try.
Worth a try. Nelly Cruz used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
All you have to do is catch one guy a year, and probably worth trying it every time.
Carlos Pena twice has grounded into a fielder's choice. 0 for 2 and hitting at 132. Strike on the check swing. That fly ball to right field off the bat of Daniel Robertson is the first ball in the air for an out tonight off of Garrett Richards.
Well, Richards does strike him out and keep the ball on the ground. He only gives up a third of a home run per 9 innings. Third toughest guy to hit a home run against in the major leagues, starting pitchers. This would be one you'd love to see Carlos get jammed and hit a little dribbler down the third baseline.
Yeah,
Martin might have a chance to score if it goes down near the tarp.
The only one down there is Lance Barrett, the third base umpire, and I don't think he's going to catch it. 0-1 pitch. There goes Martin. The pitch is swung on and missed. The throw is late. It gets away, and Martin, headed for a third, able to be in there standing. 18th stolen base for Leonys Martin. And the second throwing error tonight charged to Hank Conger.
Yeah, we've seen that play twice. Stolen base, E2, man goes from second to third.
You see why Leonys was rubbing his arm.
Freese is not used to trying to make that play.
No.
Third baseman trying to cover the bag and put the tag on the stealing runner at second base.
0-2 now, the count to Carlos Pena. Pitcher's running that 96-mile-an-hour fastball in on the fist, and he gets a foul ball. Now with Martin now over at third, the Angels going to a full overshift with Howie Kendrick, the second baseman, well out in right field. He had 40, 50 feet out there in the outfield grass. And with the runner at third, Freese, though, has to stay reasonably close to the bag. There's a gaping hole from the middle of the diamond over to shortstop. Towering fly ball to left, Hamilton. Backpedaling. Makes the grab, and that will do it. Rangers get a hit, an error, and they strand a runner. We're going to the seventh inning here in Arlington. It's the Angels 1 and the Rangers nothing. Not a lot of goose eggs. It has been some excellent pitching. Nick Tepesch, Garrett Richards combining to allow just 8 hits, and the only run came on Mike Trout's solo home run there in the 4th inning. Adrian Beltre extending his hitting streak for the Rangers to 15 games. The pitcher's duel of the old kind tonight. We go to the 7th inning, and Nick Tepesch back to the hill, and ice cream, a very popular treat here this evening, as it always is at Globe Life Park. Albert Pujols, Josh Hamilton, Eric Ibar, first 3 to face Tepesch in this inning. Pujols 1 for 2 with a single. 1 ball, no strikes. Rangers into a shift against Pujols. 3 players on the left side of the diamond. Pujols the kind of guy, though, if you have a runner in scoring position where a base hit can do some real damage in a close game, you can't put a shift on like this because he will hit the ball to the right side.
Yeah, he can do it.
See a gaping hole at the normal second base spot. 1-1 pitch. Now 2-1. Nick still a great pitch count. 83 pitches, 51 of them for strikes tonight. He struck out a couple. He has not walked a hit. Hard hit. Oh, under the glove of Elvis Andrus. It had a top spin line drive that was about shoe top high going by Elvis, and he just couldn't get the glove down.
But all you can say in that one, that was too hot to handle. He had a chance to catch it in the air. And that ball just ate him up. Yep. Had a chance to catch it in the air, but never got the glove on it. Probably had a little bit of a right to left hooking action on it.
Well, Steve Weller, the official scorer, rules out a base hit, and I concur 100%. Yeah, and I think Elvis would concur.
That was hit hard enough.
Well, that is just the 4th hit of the night for the Halos off of Nick Tepesch.
We got to think 109, 107, 106.
Pretty close.
Yep.
Hamilton down on the count, 0-1. Josh 0 for 2. That's the off-speed pitch. It's low and inside. Hamilton is grounded to second and flied to left field. And Daniel Robertson, this time not playing Hamilton quite as far over to left center field. He's more in a straightaway left field position. Hamilton tried to put one right down the line last time, and Daniel Robertson had to run a 60-yard sprint to catch up with it. Off the glove of Odor into right field. Around second, headed for third is Pujols. Hamilton with the base hit. And the Angels now runners at first and third, and nobody out for Eric Aybar.
Oh, Rupnik tried to give it some hang time. Let's see how close he came to catching that ball. Hamilton hits it right off the end of the bat and just loops it toward second. Just off the fingertip. If he's able to catch that, he turns a double play.
Yep.
Pujols was running on the play. Just right off the top of his glove. Couldn't quite get it.
Well, second straight hit for the Angels in this inning. Mike Maddox again out to the mound to talk to his battery and the entire infield. Nick Tepesch nodding his head a lot. Neftali Feliz up and beginning to loosen in that Ranger bullpen. Tepesch has been spot on tonight. This is as well as we've seen Nick throw in 5 or 6 starts. Numbers for him tonight, just 5 hits and a run, no walks, 2 strikeouts. And he has commanded both sides of the plate and been able to throw his off-speed stuff over at will. Aybar is 1 for 2, a fly ball to center and a base hit to right. Rangers playing the infield up at the corners. 1 ball, no strikes. Beltre at the cut of the grass at third, and Pena, of course, holding Hamilton at first. And with Pujols down at third, he doesn't run real well. So Odor and Andrus, even though they're playing back at about double play depth, would have a shot at home if a ground ball were hit reasonably hard to them.
That might be one of those plays where you kind of check him back to third, throw to second, and get him to go home and get a double play that way. Don't see that very often.
You just trick him double plays.
Yeah.
Tepesch peering in for the sign, has one and comes set. He again will drive Hamilton back. The other thing you have to worry about with Aybar up there is he's a very good bunter. And it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for Mike Scioscia at all to ask him to lay down maybe a safety squeeze. 1 ball, 1 strike. 77% of the time, Eric Aybar has gotten that runner home from third with less than 2 out. 90th pitch of the night coming up for Nick Tepesch. Loop to left field. That's down for a base hit. Pujols will score. Stopping at second is Hamilton. Ibar with the RBI is 49th of the year, and the Angels take a 2-0 lead.
Second baseman Howie Kendrick.
Nice job of hitting by Eric Ibar.
He's having a great year. That's why he knocks in 77% of the runs from third base with less than 2 outs. He's going to make contact, put the ball in play.
3 consecutive hits to open the 7th inning, and that's going to do it for Nick Tepesch. Ron Washington making the walk out to the mound. And Tepesch just arriving at the 90-pitch plateau. Will be finished for the night after 6 innings, plus 3 hitters here in the 7th inning. Neftali Feliz will be summoned from the bullpen. He will make his way in, and a nice round of applause, deservedly so, for Nick Tepesch tonight. He leaves trailing 2-0. Feliz on his way in. We will take a timeout. Back after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Take a look at the Coors Light Cold Hard Fact, brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Rangers this year have used 29 pitchers, including Mitch Moreland and Chris Jimenez. Team record for most pitchers, 30. Done that 3 times. And the Major League record is 37 by the 2002 San Diego Padres. So Mike Maddox hoping that they don't approach that mark. Matter of fact, he hopes they don't approach the 30 mark, but they've already gotten close.
If you use 37 pitchers, here's a couple ways to look at it. You probably have to start the season 12 on your big league roster and say 13 on your AAA roster. That's 25. You still got to find 12 more somewhere, and you're not going to take most of your AA pitchers. So you're wheeling and dealing trying to find pitchers if you have to use 37. But unfortunately, the Rangers are on their way.
So you turned over a 12-man staff 3 times.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Here's Neftali Feliz. He inherits runners at first and second. Nobody out. Howie Kendrick at the plate. And he lines one to right field. Rios got a late jump. He's coming in now. The ball hangs up just long enough for Alex to track it down. Kendrick out on 1 pitch. And David Freese now will come up. Well, here we have a matchup we haven't seen for a couple of years. Neftali Feliz and David Freese. Go back to 2011. Game 6 in St. Louis. Rangers leading in the 9th inning. And David Freese came up with a couple of runners on. And I think folks remember that. Neftali Feliz gave up the double to him off the wall, or was it a triple? Anyway,
whatever it was, it should have been caught.
Yep. I would imagine, though, for both these guys, that probably is ancient history in their thinking.
I wish it was ancient history for the rest of us.
I still get upset about that. Drops in a breaking ball, and it's 0-1. You know, Tom, you and I were doing that little thing for Eric Nadel, a tribute to Eric Nadel, and I was remembering back to that game and how devastating I thought it was for Eric and for all of us. But, for Eric especially, getting an opportunity twice in the same game to announce that the Rangers had become world champions and to have it fall a pitch short.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking.
Oh, just terrible. And all the years, Eric, going back to 1979 when he joined the Rangers, just to see the look on his face, not just the first time, that was devastation. The second time was, oh my goodness, hard to describe. 1-1 pitch from Feliz. That's outside.
Yeah, when Josh hit the home run in the top of the extra inning.
Yeah.
Now you say, okay, good. Right. Well, ninth inning didn't go well. Thank goodness. But yeah, to have it happen twice, just mind-bending.
Yeah, and so many things looked like they were aligning because that was the first postseason home run that Hamilton had hit that year.
Yeah.
You know, he'd been in a terrible power slump. Finally got a 2-run home run, and you have it happen not once but twice. Darndest thing. Feliz falling behind, 3 balls and a strike now to Freese. David Freese hitting 7th. He'll be followed by the DH, C.J. Cron. Hamilton at second base, Ibar at first. And the count now is full. Let's take a look at the AT&T U-Burst Rewind. And here it is. Nelson Cruz coming just that short. And Tony La Russa's Cardinals would tie it up on Freese double. And then the next inning. And he gets a base hit to center field. Hamilton around third will score. Martin boots the ball, so on to third goes Ibar. And an RBI single from David Freese. That makes it a 3-0 Angels lead. Ibar advancing the extra 90 feet on the Martin error in center field. David Freese was 29th RBI of the year.
It looked like a 84-mile-an-hour changeup right down the middle of the plate. He wasn't fooled by the change of speeds, and the location made it pretty easy for him to get the good part of the bat on the ball.
No, still first and third. A couple of runs across. Cron takes a strike to the outside corner. C.J. Cron tonight has grounded to third and struck out. The run that Hamilton just scored goes on the ledger of Nick Tepesch. Eric Ibar, the runner to third, also Tepesch's responsibility. Out of play to the right. That moves the count to 0-2. The Angels now 3 runs on 7 hits tonight. Rangers no runs on 5 hits. The error by Leonys Martin, the first they had committed tonight. Angels have had 2 miscues. Thrown a .280 hitter as he awaits the 0-2 pitch from Feliz. Double play ground ball. Elvis Odor Pena. 6-4-3, and that finishes the inning. But the Angels score 2 times on 4 hits, an error, and they strand 1. Stretch time at the ballpark. It is 3-0 Angels. And now please join Chuck Morgan as he announces the singing of God Bless America.
As we pause to honor the men and women of our armed services, both at home and around the world. Tonight we invite you to join in singing God Bless America with the most award-winning female vocalist in gospel music history, Sandi Patty.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand
beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
As we head to the bottom of the seventh, we also have time now to reveal our fan photo selection of the night from our ever-growing gallery of possibilities. Stephanie's picture chosen tonight. That's a nice picture. Thank you, Stephanie. We sure appreciate that. And for you folks that would like to tweet your photo, it's hashtag Southwest Fan Photo. And the good folks at AT&T have made this all possible to get your contributions to our telecasts. Robinson Chirinos leading things off here in the bottom of the seventh. Takes high for ball one. Chirinos has struck out both times that he has faced Garrett Richards tonight.
Richards' 95th pitch was 97 miles an hour. And so was that one.
He's still got some left in the tank.
He's strong, boy. Yeah, you hear about starting pitchers that can throw 97, kind of pacing themselves and using it when they need it. He starts off in the first pitch at 97, and so is his last pitch.
The 1-1.
That is rare.
Jam shot down to Freeze at third. Quick throw. Chirinos retired. One gone in the Rangers seventh. Yeah, you're exactly. It is rare. Now, Rougned Odor coming up. Let's take time here for a Mazda game break. Once again, here's John Radigan. All right, John, thank you. They must have worn themselves out last night running around the bases. Odor, a base hit in 2 trips. Had an infield single his first time up. Last time up, struck out. He takes high here to start this at bat in the 7th inning off. Rougned at 256 with the average. Richards. Like that breaking ball kind of slipped out of his hand. 2 balls and no strikes. +95 miles an hour. He has 62 of the 100 pitches tonight in that velocity.
Well, his high is 97, and on the season he averages 96.3. So if the highest one he throws is 97, to average 96, he can't throw too many pitches below 95, and he doesn't.
Strike call to Odor makes it 2 balls, 2 strikes.
High of 98.
Yeah,
I missed that one.
Just about what the average temperature is around here in the summer. Right. Odor awaiting the 2-2 pitch from Richards. And call strike 3. Rougned disputing that call with home plate umpire Ron Kulpa. And probably a good idea, Rougned, to head on back to the dugout. Yeah. Umpires don't really care for rookies to be up in their grill.
You haven't earned the right to argue with the umpire, but you take a look at that call, and he had something to argue about. And that's a pitch you hardly ever see called. A curveball that's way up high and out of the strike zone.
Well, Kulpa got screened out by Conger going up. Conger got crossed up on the pitch. He went up thinking it was a fastball, and it was a breaking ball that came down. And Ron Kulpa, when he was screened out, normally an umpire won't give you a pitch, even if it's right down the middle.
Yeah.
If he can't see it the whole way. Yeah. Shin-Soo Choo, a swinging strike. It's 0-2 now. Choo tonight struck out the first 3 times that he has faced Richards. Richards now, by the way, with 8 strikeouts. And Neil Kotz loosening in the Ranger bullpen. One ball, 2 strikes. Richards has given up 5 hits, no more than 1 hit in any inning for the Rangers tonight. Has shut them out so far through 7. I should say through 6 2/3 into the 7th.
Nice play by the man with a hat.
And the glove.
And a glove. That's how he did it.
Richards, another 1-2 pitch. That evens the count. Shin-Soo tonight has gone down swinging all 3 times. And this one he tops down to first base. Pujols at the bag, steps on first, and that will do it. So Garrett Richards with a 1-2-3 inning. That is the first of that kind that he has had tonight. We're going to the 8th inning, 3-0 Angels.
Park in Arlington as we head to the top of the 8th. Angels on top by a score of 3-0 as we welcome you back to the broadcast and want to tell you about a very special event taking place on September 8th. It's called the Do It for Durrett Benefit Concert, featuring the All-Stars of Texas Country plus Rhett Miller and Daphne Willis. This has been in the works for the last couple of weeks. You all know about the passing of our dear friend and colleague Richard Durrett a few weeks ago, and those of us in the media, the baseball community, everyone has rallied around. This family really wants to do something special, and so this is what we have come up with. It's going to be a fantastic night at Billy Bob's Texas. You can get tickets now. They just went on sale this morning. BillyBobsTexas.com/tickets. And guys, the VIP tickets sold out in less than 10 minutes. Still general admission available, but they are going fast. $20 per ticket. And at the door, they will be $30 the night of the event. So get your tickets early. All of the proceeds, absolutely 100%, go to the Richard Durrett Family Fund. Richard left behind a wife, Kelly, 2 children, Owen and Alice, and 1 baby on the way. So we want to do everything we can for that family.
All right, Emily, thank you. I second that, and sure look to see a lot of you folks out there. We miss having Richard Durrett around. A great person, a great father, and a great husband. Towering fly ball to left off the bat of Hank Conger here starting the 8th inning. Daniel Robertson, the left fielder, takes care of it. That is out number 1, and now Cole Calhoun will come up. Neil Kotz has taken over for the Rangers here in the 8th inning.
Neil's numbers on the season. He is 43rd ball game. Neil has been used frequently and done an excellent job for the Rangers.
Cole Calhoun, will be a lefty versus lefty matchup here. Calhoun's 0 for 3. He was robbed last time up. A great leaping catch by Carlos Pena down at first. He hit a line drive smash that was hooking, and Pena leaped to his left to backhand it. Other than that, Calhoun has grounded to first and popped to third. Average of 301 as he faces Kotz. Here's a strike. Nothing in 2. Neil worked a couple of nights ago against the Astros last time out. Just off the outer edge. Worked an inning in that ball game. Gave up a hit and a walk and a strikeout. 17 pitches. Nothing in the run columns. Left-hander sets the 1-2 pitch. A little dork in the left field. Now Calhoun facing a tough left-hander in Kotz, able to float one out there, just out of the reach of Elvis Andrus and in front of Daniel Robertson.
He had a pretty tough pitch. Got a slider down and away, probably not a strike. Hit a couple of balls to first base pretty hard. Didn't have anything to show for it. That's probably what he's saying to Carlos Pena. That's what you get for taking that one away from me. They all count the same.
I say the game even sings out if you wait long enough. Well, that didn't take too long. It was the next at bat.
Yeah.
Now 1 on, 1 out. Here's Mike Trout. He got a long home run. Got the Angels going in the 4th inning. His 22nd round trip of the year. He's now driven in 69. Kotz peering in for the sign. The left-hander is ready. A check of first and the pitch to Trout. Nothing in 1. Trout is 2 for 4 against Neil Kotz. Couple of singles. And Kotz has struck him out 1 time in those 4 at-bats. Trying to keep that fastball tight on him and up preferably. Kotz a check of first. Hard hit smash to Beltre. To Odor. Back to Pena. Around the horn.
That's about as fast as you can turn one there.
And you had to do with Trout running. And they got it done. Beltre got it started. Nice around the horn twin killing. And the Angels are gone in the 8th inning. Rangers coming to bat in the bottom of the 8th, trailing 3-0.
Angels as the Rangers need a little comeback here to get a victory in Game 2 of this series. John Radigan here at the Captain Morgan Club. We're getting ready for Rangers Live, presented by Esurance, a very rare occasion of Rangers Live that will feature fireworks and lots of them. The normal Friday night fireworks show will be a part of the program. Hopefully, the fireworks that end this game and the post-game reaction therein will be a part of it as well. Whatever happens in the end, we will be here with a complete post-game wrap-up. Me, Mark McLemore, Jim Knox, Buzz and Tom, and of course Emily Jones, all here for Rangers Live, presented by Esurance right after the game, guys.
All right, John. Now the Rangers have a little work to do. They trail 3-0 as they come to bat here in the bottom of the 8th inning. It'll be Andres Rios and Beltre, and the new pitcher on the hill is the right-hander Kevin Jepsen.
Well, he's pitched a lot of games just like Neil Cox. This will be his 44th game. Good ERA, nice strikeout to walk ratio, great opponent's batting average. Interesting note on Jepsen. Throw it away.
Tried to. Pujols able to dig it out. And Andrews out number 1.
A little bit of help from Pujols on that errant throw. Since April 1st, he's given up 4 earned runs, all of them against the Rangers. Hasn't been charged with a run in 28 of his last 29 games, so he's on a pretty good roll. It won't affect him tonight, but he's allowed 20 of 30 inherited runners to score. That's the most in the major leagues. Gets to it okay. Doesn't really get in position to throw it. Leads to a bad throw, but Pujols picks it.
Well, that is 1 out now, and Jepsen will face Alex Rios, who's 1 for 3. Rios, a first inning signal. Other than that, has grounded out twice and looks at a strike from Jepsen. Garrett Richards worked the first 7 innings, allowed 5 hits, shut the Rangers out with 2 walks and 8 strikeouts. Richards in line for his 11th win unless the Rangers can make a comeback here in the next 5 at bats. And Sean Tollison loosening in the Ranger bullpen. No balls, 2 strikes to Rios. Low and inside. The Angels, you'll remember, struggling mightily in their bullpen earlier in the year. It was in a shambles. And it has since calmed down for Mike Socia. As a matter of fact, it's become a strong point. Now the bullpen really doing the main part of the pitcher's work. ERA right around 2. There's a base hit to center field for Rios. He gets his second safety of the night, a one-out single. Gets him aboard here in the 8th for Adrian Beltre. And before Beltre steps in, let's say hello to Jim Knox again. Jim?
All right, Buzz, real quick, time for the progressive fan of the game. It has to be our friend Bobby V. The Stallion comes, and you come with a friend. What's this about?
I brought my Minister Money. He's going to say a prayer for the Rangers. We're going to turn this thing around. We've got a full moon. This is the anniversary of Babe Ruth's first appearance in baseball. The Rangers are going to turn it around, win 18 of the next 21.
I like your enthusiasm, Bobby V. There's the shirt. Go ahead, Minister. Do what you need to do. Careful there.
Go Rangers! I'm making the call.
Think he can make it down there by the game end?
He's got a bad hit, but he'll get there.
Okay. All right, there we go. All right, this worked last year, Bobby. Hopefully again.
We're turning it around.
There we go.
We're going to be 2 games out of the wild card by September 1st.
All right, let's hope so. Thank you, Bobby V. Progressive fan of the game. Good job, guys.
Rangers, let's go, Adrian.
Minister's a little out of breath, Bobby.
Oh. Beltran drive, straight away, center and deep. Trout is back at the wall and makes the catch against the pattern. Rios back to first. It looked ever so close to being out of here. Adrian Beltre, the right trajectory. It had that sound to it, and it just came up a couple of feet short. That is out number 2. Leonis Martin now will come up.
Well, it looks like he got it. Pitch out over the plate. Looked like he hit it pretty well. And off the bat, it looked like it was headed for the grass behind the center field wall, but 404 feet, not quite far enough. Heartbreaking.
Yep.
That's all you can say. That's not fake either. I think I think that's serious.
Yeah. Much as he put into those cheers, I would think so.
He thought he was going to get some instant result. And he almost did. Thanks for the effort.
Owen won the
support and enthusiasm.
Yeah. Leonis Martin tonight 1 for 3. Singled his last time up. Got a stolen base, got as far as third. Rangers have had a couple of runners at third base tonight, but they've been with 2 outs and have not been able to get them home. On the count. Rios maybe not as good a bet to run now as he would have been a little bit earlier in the game with a different score, but down 3. He may not try. He's on the move. Swung on and missed. The throw. Not going to get him.
Boy, that was a great tag by Eyeball. He came all the way across the bag. Safe, but still a nice effort.
15th stolen base of the year for Alex Rios. Had a couple of thefts tonight. They've been caught once. The Rangers kind of look at running against the Angels like a gimme, almost.
Yep, they've had some success for sure.
They get a good jump, they're going. Successful most of the time.
I remember that series in Anaheim where they couldn't stop the Rangers. They knew they were going. They were pitching out. They were slide stepping. Anything they could. They couldn't stop them. And I think you're right. I think that is the game plan. If the guys that can run get on base, they will go.
Leonis Martin up there with a chance to get the Rangers on the scoreboard. Rangers have not fared very well in runners in scoring position situations. Got him swinging. Jepson gets the strikeout. Rangers can't do anything with a Rios single. He is stranded. We're going to the 9th. It's the Angels 3, the Rangers nothing on Fox Sports Southwest.
Rangers trailing 3-0 to the Angels. This, of course, game 2 of a 4-game set between these two. Game 3 will be tomorrow here at Globe Life Park in Arlington, and that is a national broadcast on the Fox Network. Big Fox, as we like to call it around these parts. 6 o'clock, first pitch, and you can see 2 of the game's hotter hitters going at it. A career .381 average here at the ballpark for Mike Trout. And, of course, Adrian Beltre leading the American League with his .386 average, fellas. Should be a good one tomorrow on Fox.
All right, Emily, thank you. And we go to the 9th inning. Sean Tollison has come out of the bullpen, the third reliever used tonight by Ron Washington.
Yeah, and Sean made the team out of spring training as a reliever, and he's gotten a lot of work, too. A great chance to appear in 40 games before the All-Star break, and a solid job, a .322 ERA. Almost a strikeout per inning. And Sean looked at those numbers. The one area he'd want to improve on are home runs allowed. He's given up 9 home runs.
And working to Albert Pujols. Misses high and outside for ball 1. Pujols, couple of singles tonight. Once to center, once to left. He is 2 for 3. That batting average creeping back up toward the .275 mark. Shoots one down the right field line. Is slicing. And it goes foul. And Pujols not at all opposed to trying to take the ball the other way. And leading off an inning like this, he can get aboard. He knows that certainly helps his club's chances to score in this frame. Rangers in that overshift with 3 infielders on the left side of the diamond. 1-1 pitch. And that'll come into play there as Odor behind the bag at second, able to make the play. That is out number 1. Well, Rougned well positioned, and Pujols 2 for 4 as he trots back to the Angels dugout. Now Josh Hamilton. Sean Tollison, of course, the Baylor ex, took part in the first pitch ceremonies here tonight. One of the Baylor softball players firing out the first pitch. Sean Tollison caught him. He was wearing his Baylor hat, and a lot of Baylor green and gold in the stands. Sean, a very proud Baylor alum. 0-1 the count to Hamilton. Josh, 1 for 3 tonight. Good changeup.
Back-to-back changeups.
Here's that first pitch.
Oh, you can tell she's played some baseball and softball.
Those Baylor folks they got to stick together, don't they?
Three straight changeups. Every one of them almost the exact same pitch. I bet you the pitch tracks would show those pitches almost touched each other. That's key to Josh. You just early in the count, just don't give him a good pitch to hit. He might take it and work the count, but that's the way it goes. But a lot of times, if he's a little over anxious, you can get him to swing at those pitches.
And it's almost guaranteed if you can get him to swing at the first one, he'll swing at the next 2. That's just the kind of hitter he is. I mean, when he's going well, he hits the.
Well, that's the thing. You better make a good pitch because otherwise he'll put a charge in it.
First pitch to Eric Ibar is inside. The appeal to third, no swing. There's Barrett down there, and Ibar, a very big RBI single in the 7th inning. Drove in the second Angel run of the night. Tollison with the 1-0 pitch on the way. Now 2-0. So Ibar, a .286 average. 6 home runs, now 49 driven in. And that is a knee-high strike. 2-1. Ibar now a 7-game hitting streak intact. And he extended that tonight. Pops this one up. Elvis Andrus backpedaling and calls off Daniel Robertson. Elvis makes the catch. That'll do it. Sean Tollison, a very quick and easy 10-pitch 1-2-3 inning Rangers coming to bat in the bottom of the ninth. They need 3 to tie. They've got Robertson, Pena, and Chirino. Texas Rangers baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. By AT&T U-Burst TV. Find out what's possible with AT&T. Call 1-800-PIC-ATT, mobilizing your world. And by your Texas Ford dealer. The Ford Summer Spectacular Sales Event now playing at a Ford dealer near you. The Rally Caps have been donned at Globe Life Park tonight. Rangers trailing 3-0. And Joe Smith charged now with trying to close out his second Angel win in this series.
Well, he's gotten signed as a setup guy. He's gotten a chance to be the closer. He's 12 out of 16. Having a solid year for Mike Scioscia and the Angels. Buzz, before we get into this inning, I have to correct a goon out that I made. I looked down at Eric Ibar's statistics to come up with his highest year of RBIs, and I looked at the walk total instead of the RBI total. I said that the most RBIs he'd had in a season was 35. That's the most walks he's had in a season. Okay. He's actually had 2 seasons where he's knocked in 58 and 59 runs.
Oh, okay.
So, all right, dramatic difference from what I said earlier. Still well on his way to eclipsing that one.
Yeah, I mean, 49 at the... Well, he's still got 2 games before the break.
Yeah, so he's going to have his best RBI year.
Yeah.
But his previous best years are significantly better than I gave him credit for. So I apologize to the All-Star shortstop.
Joe Smith from that down under, almost down under motion, the extreme sidearm. 1-2 the count to Daniel Robertson. Robertson took over for Jake Smolinski, who had to leave after being hit by a pitch in the second inning. Daniel is 0 for 1 officially with a walk. Taps one to third to short. Ibar, quick release, and he got Daniel Robertson by a step.
That was a tough play for Ibar because Freese, the third baseman, came right in front of him, kind of shielded him a little bit. And he showed some quick hands, being able to get rid of that ball fast.
Yeah, the Angels have changed third baseman. We'll tell you about that in a second. But Tuesday, we want to remind you, baseball's best together in Minnesota as Derek Jeter takes the field for his last All-Star game ever in what promises to be an emotional and unforgettable night. Special coverage begins at 3:30 p.m. on Fox Sports 1, and that's followed by the 2014 All-Star game at 6:30 on Fox. Carlos Pena, sweeping breaking ball in for strike 1.
There's a look. It's not Freese, it's John McDonald who's the third baseman, but he cuts right in front of Ibar. Actually shields him, but he didn't affect Ibar at all. He still got the ball out of his glove quickly and made a strong, accurate throw. There's John McDonald, new third baseman.
Yeah, that's pretty good focus on Ibar's part to be able to.
It is.
Not have that bother you. Pitch outside to Carlos Pena. 1 ball and 1 strike. Carlos an 0 for 3 tonight. He has grounded out a couple of times and flied out to left field. Facing Joe Smith, who has taken over the closing duties for these Angels. They had a hard time finding someone to be consistent in that spot. As a matter of fact, they went as far as to trade their previous closer, Ernesto Frieri, to Pittsburgh in exchange for Jason Grilli, who had been deposed as the Pirates closer. Figured maybe a change of scenery for both of them would make a difference. Well, Joe Smith's still closing.
Yeah, the early returns seem to show that Jason Grilli has adapted pretty well to the Angels. Ernesto Frieri's had at least one shaky outing with the Pirates.
You know, there are a couple of Ranger hitters that are sorry to see Frieri go to that other league.
One's playing for Baltimore. That's Nelly Cruz. He lit him up, boy.
And the other would be Adrian Beltre, the third baseman. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Pena. Pulled to right field, and right there is Howie Kendrick, the second baseman, playing that rover spot in shallow right. Now, not so shallow right. He makes the grab, and that's out number 2.
Carlos did catch a break. He's taken some good swings. He's had a number of balls that he's just missed that have turned into fly ball outs. And there's a line drive to right field that looked like a certain base hit. And there's Kendrick standing right in the way of it.
The base is empty, 2 away. Robinson Chirinos, the Rangers' last hope of trying to mount a comeback here in the 9th inning. Chirinos chops the first pitch foul. It's 0-1. Robinson 0 for 3, a couple of strikeouts and a ground out his last time up. Chirinos now hitting at .249. Smith ready, the right-hander. Side wheels one in, just a bit low. 1-1 the count. Chirinos 0 for 1 against Smith in the previous matchup. He popped out. He had a ground ball to third. McDonald, a nice convenient second up on to first. In the dirt, dugout by Pujols, and the Rangers go down to defeat their 6th consecutive loss overall, and the 6th consecutive to the Angels. A 3-1 or 3-0 final here tonight as Ron Washington's club is shut out at home this evening. Garrett Richards gets the win and his 11th victory of the year. The Angels 3-0 over the Rangers. John Radigan and Mark McLemore will be back to wrap things up for you right after this on Fox Sports Southwest.